Hello, world, and welcome to IBM.TV World News, where we're bringing you daily updates on the coronavirus 19 pandemic that the world has announced to us. All of our world leaders are now taking extra extreme precautions. We are trying to be very careful about how we report the news. So at IBM.TV, we are sharing you reliable resource news. We're going to share with you where those resources are, but we are going to ask the public to be careful about how often you check those sites. Just like in an emergency situation, networks have a tendency of going down when they're over accessed. This is a problem that we had in the world for many years when the networks became over accessed. They will go down. We have a threshold, people. Technology is built by humans, and the threshold will make the network crash, and we don't want that to happen. We want to keep the networks open so that we can still use them for the most important needs of all. So anyway, I am your host, Kimberly Calhoun. I am the Senior Executive Producer of IBM TV, and today we have the Senior Executive Producer and Founder of IBM TV Network with us. We are the World News. Good morning, Nick. We are in Raleigh, North Carolina, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are you doing?
Fine. I can't see you.
Oh, I'm on the road today.
Oh, goodness. So where are you heading to, Nick? Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Places in Raleigh.
Oh, okay. So we're heading to Raleigh. Be careful. You know, we want to be very, very careful and use extreme measures. You know, I know a lot of places have closed down. So, you know, but I know that you're always careful. Can you share with us a little bit about what's the update in the financial world today?
Well, I haven't got a report yet on the Dow, but the thing is, I would say we're going to get in for some rocky times here because they haven't really controlled this thing yet, and I don't know when they're going to control it. Right now it looks like a lot of the businesses are going to be shut down for at least a month, and I think in 30 days we'll have a better handle on it. I also don't believe they've tested a lot of people, and that's one of the real problems, is that we don't know how many people really have it. They said up in New York they ran through 1,400 tests approximately, or 1,200 people, and 14% of them actually had the coronavirus, which is, again, is reporting is really tough because you don't know when they say that. Are they testing people that are ill or people that are healthy and ill? See, and that's where the statistics can skew, is that the reporter goes, well, we tested 1,200 people, 1,400 people, 14% had the coronavirus. Okay. That's well and good, but was the 1,200 people sick people, or were they 1,200 people randomly chosen? It makes a big difference. Well, the reporter didn't say that. And then on one of the networks, all they did was lambast administration. So it's they're pointing fingers here, pointing fingers there. Well, and I don't like that, because you know that you can do that all day. Hindsight is always 100%.
You know what? I'm not going to vote for anyone that points fingers anymore.
Well, it wasn't that.
Resources together.
It wasn't that. There are networks in the United States. I'm sorry, networks in the United States that really are not trying to report the news or be objective. What they're doing is they like to report.
Okay.
They like to point fingers and make it a whole big political contest. Solving a problem is not a political contest.
No,
solving a problem is solving a problem, and we already know what the problem is, and we need to have a plan to solve the problem. And there are some really smart people out there that can do that. Now, interesting to note that you would think that the United States would have a plan and what they call a contingency plan for an event like this. but unfortunately they don't. It's more fly of the seat of your pants responses. They may have one, but it's not being implemented or it's not being discussed. So right now we're at the fly at the seat of your pants on a pandemic, which is kind of unusual because this is not something that is unexpected. In other words, this is something that could happen again. It's happened now. It could also happen again in several years from now. It could happen again next year. This is not unusual. It's like saying, hey, there's an earthquake. What's our response? We should actually have a plan for that already in place right now. So there's work to do. But with that in mind, the latest report is that the 6 feet rule doesn't really apply. You need 10 feet. This is apparently very highly contagious. So if you get near somebody, you can actually contact and get the disease. It's highly contagious.
We learned that even once you're exposed, you're a carrier at that moment. So once you've been
infected, and then once you're exposed, you're a carrier, and that's the real danger. And I mean, they're shutting down the schools here, but the real danger is you contract the disease, and you're a child, you don't know it, then you give it to a grandparent, and the grandparent dies because it tends to affect the elderly more so than anybody else. So this is what we're seeing out there right now.
So
and by the way, Willie, there is a run on toilet paper. Willie, there is a run on toilet paper here too.
There is.
You told me about that a couple
of
weeks ago.
Sharing is that we learned from Willie. Be prepared. People, you're going to run out of food and stuff. Yeah.
When he said everybody ran out and bought toilet paper, I thought he was kidding. But it not only happened in Australia, it's happening here in the United States. People are running out and buying toilet paper. I don't know how that solves the problem, but anyway, it makes people feel good. And I guess if you ran out of toilet paper, that would be a bad thing.
Well, there was a run on sports drinks and energy drinks. There's been a run on meats, which surprised me. The whole meat market was empty yesterday. So where I shop, all the fruits and vegetables that are frozen were gone. So yeah, it's a run on everything. And, we're planting our seeds now, so we have an earlier garden, to get us through this time, because we try to grow a lot of the foods that we eat during the summer here. But, you're right, Nick, they're closing the schools. This is what I say. I think we should confine ourselves to our communities, if anything at all, to our communities, if not our own homes. But if we just stay in our own village, our own community, if something happens and a pandemic spreads, we can contain it there. We know where it started, who it probably started with, and we can close that gap and prevent it from going to other places. Don't go to the hospital or the medical centers. If you are sick, call in, get pre-screened, and get a test kit. Though one of the problems we have been learning is a lot of the test kits are failing. Have you heard that, Nick or Willie?
No, we've not heard anything.
I've heard on the grapevine, and I don't know how true it is, that some of the tests are failing. Nick, have you heard any reports on that?
No, the test failing. I do know that we're behind, but I think we're going to, the United States moves very rapidly at mobilizing resources. So it looks like we're going to rapidly mobilize the resources that we need to start doing the testing. So I think that you're going to see an increase in the testing out there, and you're going to see a lot more people tested. Now, with that being said, you go back to, okay, how many people do we have that's actually that have the virus that just we don't know about? And unfortunately, that's going to take a while for all the data to come in. So we're not really going to know for the next couple weeks how bad and how prevalent this really is. It's going to take us a while.
Right. I received a report yesterday that there was a little bit of panic of what's happening at the stock market, and that it actually hit the all-time lowest that it could possibly hit for it to be safe for us, and that the Federal Reserve took action over the weekend and have established some measures that will help us control the situation and hopefully keep us from an economic black swan dive, as they are calling this. Have you, Willie, have you heard any reports on this?
Yes, there is. One, the federal government, we've got two government states, the local Victoria, and then they're like a state, and then we have the federal government. The federal government's imposed the non-Australians entering the country, and then the schools are not in lockdown. Only the schools that have tested positive with some of the students have gone into lockdown mode, but the schools are still open. It's the policy they're going to use is they will close only if there's cases that have tested positive. Then they'll put the school in lockdown mode. So schools, childcare, and workplace are still open. But that's on a daily basis that they're going to do that. They've had an increase. The previous day, there's been an increase of 49 cases from yesterday to today. And most of that is in New South Wales. We have a lot of new entrants. A lot of people, when they come to Australia, 9 out of the 10 end up coming through New South Wales. So New South Wales had the highest so far. They've got 134 confirmed cases. Our total for the whole of Australia is 298. Yesterday was 249. So we've gone up, 49 cases.
Wow. And
that doesn't surprise me because New South Wales is where Sydney's located at.
Yes.
And a lot of the flights come into Sydney. I remember when I flew to Australia, it's almost like everything goes to Sydney.
Yes.
And so that's like the ground zero, because that's the import city for all the people that are traveling from foreign countries that have the virus to embark there. As a matter of fact, this is what we're also seeing. The major places or ports where people come into, they're the ones that have a lot of the virus. Like in the United States, there's a West Virginia or Montana. They have like 0 or 1, but nobody really flies into West Virginia or Montana. They're not big hub cities. Okay.
Yep.
New York's a big hub city. They have a lot. Seattle, a big hub city. They have a lot. San Francisco, they have a lot. So if you're in a big hub city, an airport hub city, there's a good chance that you have the coronavirus. Africa, I haven't got many. And again, this may lean to the fact that the potential fact that the coronavirus is susceptible to heat. Or it could be they're just not testing people in Africa. And that's the problem with data. The data can be unreliable depending where you're receiving the data from.
And I have some news from some friends that have been reaching out to us since we started this, that have actually been emailing golive@ibm.tv. Somebody I didn't even know before. He is from Africa, and he says he's a driver there. And they're all alert, and they're watching the news and the world news to see what's going on everywhere else. But he says, yes, right now we're good. Everything's going well here, and we are not yet to receive the coronavirus as it seems to be growing in your world. The work is busy, and they are all happy, but they are still very worried. They are very worried about it. So far, they have not seen an impact. Perhaps there have not been a lot of travelers over the winter from China to Africa and from Italy to Africa, but they are on alert. They are watching what the rest of the world is doing and listening to world news like us, and they greatly appreciate everything that we're doing to help get the word to them of what's happening in the rest of the world. A lot of people might not know this, but IBM TV, we're not banned from anywhere. We are a web-based TV network, so you don't have to have Roku or Amazon or Apple to access us. All you have to do is go to ibm.tv, and that's what these people are doing. This person I've never even heard of. I know some people over there that live in villages, and I've been waiting for reports from them. So far, they say that nothing has hit them either, that they are actually, at that point of kind of making not fun of it, but little skits about it, teaching people, the proper measures, no contact, how to be an alert and watch for the symptoms. So that's the report from Africa, from just the real people, not from, the government, but just from people who live there.
Yeah, and I got the same story. I talked to somebody today from Uganda and also from Nigeria, and both of them, they have not seen or heard any coronavirus issues, which, by the way, is good. Not only good for their countries, but also good for the potential that just maybe, the heat, humidity gets to the coronavirus. And then as the Northern Hemisphere moves into the warmer climates, that this thing will start breaking down. However, with that in mind, it'll come back with a vengeance next year. And so this way, we are still going to be on guard until we have a vaccine or we're able to somehow treat the virus. Now, one of the medical doctors that reported that there is a greater chance that we will find a treatment in the next several months than we will actually have a vaccine. Then I got another report that said one of the universities broke down the virus and that they think the vaccine will not be far away either. When I say not be far away, it means within a year, which is a long time. Because if you're in shutdown, if your economy is in shutdown or you have these businesses in shutdown, they're going to go under. And this can be a real economic crisis. In other words, the coronavirus can go away, but the economic crisis can be with us for a long, long time. And it can be as damaging, as severe as the coronavirus. A lot of the restaurants, people aren't coming to the restaurants, but you can do takeout. And we're going to do that this week to support some of our local restaurants. But some of the restaurants in the New York City they close them down, and they don't have the stay-in power to be around for 2 months or 3 months without having a decent customer base. And that and the travel agents and the cruise lines are all going to take a very severe hit. So, and that has what we call a rippling effect in the economy, because then next what happens is people lose their jobs. And when people lose their jobs, then it ripples to other parts, because then they can't buy goods and services like automobiles or even get things fixed. And so what we have is, I think, a market that is, you're going to see turn around, go south again. There's no way it can sustain itself and have people out of the economy in the next couple months. It just won't happen. So yeah, we had a big rally Friday. Yeah, they dropped the interest rates to 0. Okay, that's great and wonderful. But realize that a lot of the borrowing on those interest rates are large companies, and it doesn't help the small businesses. And even if they lend money, then they have to pay it back. Pay it back with what? So we do not have a grip on this.
When they say 0 interest rates, is that just for the top 1% and the big companies?
Yeah, basically it's for the top banks and the 1%. In other words, it's this incontinence trickle-down theory, which doesn't work. What will happen is that the small businesses are going to suffer. The large businesses will suffer, but less. And the 1% will suffer, but less. I mean, that's basically going to be the bottom line of what you're going to see in the next couple months. I believe that the market will reflect it. It is going to be a lot more negative than you're seeing right now. The aberration that went up a couple thousand points on Friday is just, forget it. It will not happen. You cannot shut down the economy for 2 months and say, oh, we only lost 10 or 20%. We're going to lose a lot more than that. So my strike price is a lot lower than Wall Street, and they got to turn this around pretty quick. If they don't, the longer it stays out there, the bigger problem we have. So one of the biggest problems we face is the economic shutdown that we're experiencing. The travel industry's down. The cruise lines are off. Disneyland shut down. The chess tournaments finally stopped. Okay, and to me that's a bad indicator. They haven't. They canceled the National High School Chess Championship. They haven't done that in 50 years. The NFL suspended. Major League Baseball suspended. NBA suspended. I mean, you just can't have all the economic activity suspended. The conferences have been suspended, and then expect the economy to grow or even remain where it is. So this is what we're gonna experience in the next couple months. So I think we're going to get a lot more viewers on IBM TV because they're going to be at home with, frankly, nothing to do. There's bills going through that say, hey, we're going to give you 2 weeks of paid leave, but a 2 weeks is fine. I mean, it's better than nothing. But what happens if this goes on 2 months, which is well expected, or longer, which is a bigger problem? Then you're going to have what I call the economic meltdown, which is going to be as a big a crisis, if not bigger, I hate to say it, than the coronavirus.
Well, let's talk about some other things that get impacted here. The insurance companies are in a panic frenzy as well because they can't, handle all the people that are going to be getting as sick as they are. I've heard rumors of what the treatments are. I have not had anything confirmed yet from any hospital of how they're actually treating these people. But the medications that they're using are some very serious medications from what I've heard. I'm hoping to get some confirmation soon, but they're medications that people cannot standardly afford. So the insurance companies, Jennifer Waxton, a congresswoman in Virginia, has enacted a family law with the coronavirus that people can get the test kits for free and some help with treatments but I mean, this is impacting every industry, not just the people in the communities and the small businesses. Have you heard anything about the insurance?
Well, I haven't heard much about how the insurance industry is going to respond to this. It really, again, will depend on the severity of the coronavirus, the problem is we're just not going to know for the next couple of weeks. And then that'll give us a big indicator as to what's going to happen the next couple of months. I believe that we're doing the right thing because, unfortunately, we're going to have to stop the spread of this. I mean, that's kind of like the number one thing that is important. And then we're going to have to assess how bad the damage really is. So we're dealing with a very unknown quantity at this point in time. And the insurance industry, of course, they don't like uncertainty, but that's how they have reserves for this, basically. In other words, there are a certain amount of reserves. But when will the reserves run out? And that we just don't know. So this is going to be very interesting and trying times. And we're just going to have to monitor it on a day-by-day basis.
Well, let's talk a little bit.
And they can do that.
Right. I mean, and nobody really talks about why this is so different from the flu. This is, everybody's going, oh, well, more people die of the flu or starvation every year. But the flu, you can get over the flu and your body's not permanently damaged. The coronavirus will actually permanently damage the human body, and nobody really discusses this horrific.
That's just one issue, but also the thing is, the stats show that the coronavirus can be 10 times greater than a flu when it comes to mortality. The only reason there have been less deaths is there have been less reporting, and there's less people that we know of that is contagious. But like they said, the mortality rate of the flu is like 0.1% on the general population. This is 1% on the general population, but as high as 6% if you're over age 60, and 15% if you're over age 80. And you see the problem. The elderly just get smashed with this. It's not even close, and it's highly contagious. So this is the real problem, and this is what we're looking at today. In other words, In the United States, we do have an elderly population, just as Japan does. And if they get infected, the mortality is, could be potentially 60 times greater than a flu as you get older. That's ridiculously high.
And there was an article in the John Hopkins paper. And so all of these universities are researching it and coming up with things that you don't hear about. And they had learned, and again, I've learned it's how you ask the question, because sometimes they want to tap dance around the issue. So somebody had asked one of the experts, well, is this coronavirus 19 like the measles? Is it airborne like the measles? And of course they said, no, it's not like the measles. And they got away with that. But the true bad news was, is they later printed, the bad news is that the coronavirus is airborne. It's airborne. It can live in the air for 3 hours. And even if it's fumigated or gassed with, a Lysol spray to kill the virus, it will survive that fumigation for 3 hours. So they can't even fumigate a plane right now and it be safe for 3 hours to get on. And I'm not trying to panic the world. Information is the way we make better choices. So if you're not afraid of it and you think that this is all just media hype and that these research papers are just trying to scare you and you're okay, then that's your choice to move on. But having this information allows me to make, and Willie and Ankit and Nick and all my friends and family, it allows you the opportunity to make that choice for you. So,
the report that I got from one medical doctor was that the wash down is not that effective. In other words, they said the real contamination is people coming in contact with people, and it is within now 10 feet rather than 6 feet, as they originally thought 3 feet. Then now it's 6. Then now it's 10. In other words, apparently it is airborne. It doesn't go that far, but it goes 10 feet, and people get infected if you're within 10 feet. And the biggest problem is being with people.
What if the wind blows?
I don't know all that, but the thing is, so they basically said the best thing to do is stay away from people. Now I'm good at that, but a lot of people like Ankit in India, that's not good for him, or Willie in Australia, that may not be good. But since they're both here, I've got my next stop, so I'm going to go sign off and leave you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, but Ankit and Willie are there.
We'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for the update.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
So, hey, Nick. We actually get to see, or is that, yeah, hi, Nick. We see Nick. Can you say hi?
I think the camera froze.
All right. Yeah, give him a break. So he does very well driving and talking. Elliot does the same thing. Makes me a little nervous. Good morning, Ankit.
Good morning.
Good morning, Willie.
How are you?
Morning. So, Ankit, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in India. You guys took extreme measures a little bit sooner than the United States. How is it going there?
So the roads are empty. People are doing work from home, whoever they can, basically. But this is the case about metro cities. But if you talk about the 2-tier, 3-tier and villages, people have a normal life. They know that something like corona is going on, but they are not bothered because they don't travel that much as compared to the people in metro. So the kiosk in metro cities that people are, trying to be safe, and they are not committing or doing any kind of stuff. And to my surprise, I have seen a lot of radiation, guns on all retail shops and malls and cafes, and whoever is coming to those cafes, they are checking the temperature, and then they're allowing people who are normal, and people who have more than 37 degrees of body temperature, so they are not allowing them. So that was something which I have started, which I have analyzed today, and it's been used across the retail shops.
So they indicating the high fever is indicating that you either have the flu or the virus.
Yeah. So if you have a high temperature, that
shouldn't be out in public.
Yeah, so if you have high temperature, you have to take rest, and if you have high flu, so still, I mean, because you are less immune, so you can possibly create more symptoms to everyone else. So that is what they are trying to safeguard.
So we can look at this as a good way of preventing the flu from spreading as well as the coronavirus. So this
So
exactly.
and
So
then,
this extreme precaution is good.
and then that gun is cost around $15. So I think it's not a big thing, and everyone can, I mean, have that gun, and I mean, whenever they walk down on a retail shop, I mean, they can do that scanning. It just takes 10 seconds, and you'll get to know that person is perfect or
Right.
fit to talk.
Willie, you shared this with us the other day, about a week ago, that they were doing the same thing, right? That they were testing the temperature.
Yes, no, that was just within our company, because the company that I work for is a multinational. They already had a policy in place, or they already, by the time we got to it, and they had the test guns. The thing with that comes the data that you gather, because the person that is scanned needs to sign off on the data.
Right.
Okay, when they collect the data. When a person tests positive, I think the health authorities then gets the data and the self-imposed isolation, so that the Ministry of Health now have given the authority to the police to check the database of people that are infected to see that they comply with the self-isolation policy. And yeah, like the fine is like $30,000.
Wow. Well, you know what though? I think people pay more attention if they're going to have to pay a fine to staying home. You know, that you can't recover that kind of money that fast working. Not many people can, and unless you're Bill Gates or, you know, somebody like Jeff Bezos. You can't recover that kind of money overnight. So that's that really is encouraging people to stay home, right?
Yes, yes. The scary part about all of this, the financial impact also, is not a lot of people have the financial capacity to stay at home for 6 months and not earn an income. You know, out of like a 60% of people that work, a big majority of that live paycheck to paycheck. And the moment you live paycheck to paycheck and they close the work down, what do you do? Where do you go when your money runs out? You can't buy food. The grocery stores are not just giving out food because of the goodness of their heart. No, they don't. It's not happening that way. So a lot of the interview I saw yesterday, just before I got home, was some of these freelancers. They caught out. Now they're saying, I've just got rented this new apartment. And because I freelance, I don't have a paycheck now. And the place
Right.
is in lockdown mode.
And so what do people do then, right?
They just eyes open and fingers crossed and hoping for the next best gig to pop up.
So because you know that's something to consider too. Some people can't. They live paycheck to paycheck. They are not able to self-sustain a month without a paycheck.
Yep.
So, Ankit, are they doing anything in your country about that? If they're asking people to stay home and companies and they can't maintain,
So here,
they
I
don't
mean,
make a paycheck.
so it's,
Yeah,
I mean, a lot
go
of people
ahead.
are on their monthly wages basically. So people who have those wages, I mean, like, I mean, to start with, I mean, people earn around $300 a month, basic wage, and I mean, if they don't get those $300, I mean, it's difficult for them to survive. So I think it's a very serious issue, and I'm not sure how government will help, but I know that Hong Kong government is doing some kind of payback policy for their citizens in Hong Kong, because they have a lot of reserves and they wanted to keep their citizens safe. So that's what the government in Hong Kong is doing. But Indian government, what they're doing is, people who are suffering from corona, they are trying not to charge to anyone. and try to give them the best possible health care medication without any cost. But apart from that, work is concerned, all those people, I mean, if you talk about the travel industry, so they are firing the employees because 70% of the business is down, and they don't have anything to do. I mean, because no one is traveling, so they are not able to sell tickets, they're not able to sell hotels, everything is empty. And this is the perfect travel season because summers are online and everyone is trying. I mean, if it's a normal year, so people are trying to book tickets, but the business is in a bad shape, so they don't have any other option just to fire people, or maybe if someone can wait for salary for like maybe next 3 to 6 months, maybe more than that, so that's what they can do. But also I spoke to my brother. He works for Marriott in Washington, and he told me that Marriott is also in a bad shape because 50% of the bookings, they had to refund the money because of the contract. And I mean, there is maybe 10% of the rooms are occupied across US, and I mean, it's difficult for all. I mean, for Marriott also to I don't know. I mean, what or how they will plan the things basically, because in India, the I mean, in the government of Delhi and India, what they told us that 50 people, more than 50 people can't be at one place. So they have closed down the gyms, they have closed down the bars, they have closed down the, I mean, places where people go and enjoy. Theaters are already closed, so they are not trying, I mean, attracting more than 50 people at one place. So situation is critical, market is down. I just visited the Apple store. So they said they don't have any inventory and they just have to open it because of the name. That's it. I mean, so it's a difficult situation, and I think this is the start, but it will affect in 2020 by December. I mean, because it will affect later on, and it will be a drastic effect.
And we all know that the ripple effect of this is going to be a huge impact on the economy. That it's not about the health at that moment. The medical industry right now is taking a huge impact because they cannot manage the volume of the problem that is occurring. I don't know if you've experienced this, Ankit, but I went online this morning to access some of our resources for data, and the resources have bonked out. They've reached their full capacity of people logging into them, and you can't open the database. Like the world meter is locked down because it had too many hits.
Yeah.
This is a problem that we have in any natural disaster or big disasters that happen. I worked in telecom for years, and we would try to beg people, use the phone the least amount as possible so that the people who need it and the emergency people and the people who are giving you information can access it, because people don't understand that every one of these networks have a threshold that they can handle.
True.
And then they will crash. And when you have a situation where everyone's picking up and making phone calls at the same time, that network's going to crash. The same thing happens with the internet. It is not foolproof from overcapacity. It's going to get too full and it's going to bust. So be careful about what site you go to. Use the CDC site only when you need it, and then log out so that other people can get in, right? Let's use some common sense practice here. Knowledge is how we control the panic. Information is how we can control the panic so that we can make the right choices for ourselves, and information from the right resources. Willie, what are some of the things that they are, for examples, that they're asking you guys to do to keep yourselves entertained at home and at home?
Yes, they've axed, excuse me, they've axed all big functions. A lot of the like AFL games, the league games, that's all been canned as of last night. And there's a lot of worry, and therein lies a problem, because the AFL, this is the Australian football rules. It's totally different from a rugby league and rugby union. They've said they're going to go ahead they have not cancelled the first round of games. They sort of said they are willing to play with no spectators, as opposed to just canning the whole game. Yeah, that's still, but that will change if the number of cases spiked. Then they don't have any option but then just to can the whole game. So that's what it's on again, it's off, and the uncertainty is what the news outlets were a bit narky a bit, because they, during these uncertain times, one of the things that people are looking forward to is certainty. Somebody that stands up and said, this is how it is, and everybody will follow that, because they now have certainty in an uncertain time, and that's not what's happening with some of these major league games.
Right. And let's talk about that. You know, we're talking about a few games. I know people have spent their life, though they feel like their lifetime, getting to that point. But let's be a little realistic about this. You know, if we just self-contain ourselves for 4 weeks, we live today to play tomorrow. We live today to build tomorrow and to be together tomorrow. 4 weeks to some people is a lifetime. It is your monthly income that you pay your bills with. But we all know in most cases we can rebuild.
Yes.
I truly believe that the government is going to try to reach out and help us. Already,
Yes.
the Federal Reserve has taken extreme measures over the weekend to meet the need of the stock market to prevent it from crashing. As Nick shared, he truly believes that the 0% interest rate isn't going to help. It isn't there for the small businesses. It will truly just be there as an umbrella for the big businesses. But we got to begin somewhere. And
Absolutely.
Ian and I were talking, we would like to start some other shows that connect with this and runs 24 hours where we're talking to the small businesses. You know, Willie, you're an entrepreneur. How do you feel that this is going to impact your small business worlds, the startups that you work with?
One of the guys that we work with is up in Brisbane, and he said he was lucky that they were able to work remotely. And that's one of the great things with people in the startup space. They're able to work remotely and still move their projects forward, as opposed to, I think it's the guys that it's a startup, the early stage, and the one just beyond early stage where I think they're doing the Series A funding. These are the people, because they've already gone just a bit too big to be nimble. Whereas the startup itself is still nimble. Okay, let's work from home. Bang. That can happen instantaneously. Whereas people in Series A, when you have 50 to 100 employees, it's not that easy, because a number of those employees would be face-to-face, or people who handle the sales people who handle the face-to-face component of the startups.
Well, you know, and something that needs to be considered so people understand, when you're raising Series A's, like you said, you're not as nimble. Generally, you're spending almost as much as you're making.
Absolutely.
By the time you're at Series A. Series A is beyond proof of concept.
Yes.
You're running, but you need that extra money to continue. We just lost Ed Pitt, and I was hoping for some numbers.
That's okay.
But you're talking a subject that we talked over the weekend. That was what I'm finding out. Everybody's concerned. I received some phone calls over the weekend from the small businesses going, this is going to be really tough.
Yes. So like for me personally, I'm looking at doing a equity crowdfunding to secure a platform. And one of the things that said, so I'm talking with these other guys, and they're saying, okay, it's going ahead. And I'm telling the guy, that, haven't you heard? We've got coronavirus, which kind of means that anything that we've talking about is just going to either slow down and wait till this whole thing blows over, because I don't see anybody else subscribing.
Right.
You put up a platform. You're looking towards subscription to sustain the platform. And if you put up a platform and there's no subscription, the subscription got to come from somewhere. So
No.
that's where we're at the conversation.
Oh no, and you know, and I wanted to ask Ankit, Ankit, you know, you're an entrepreneur. You know, your business relies on networking with people. What is the impact of something like this on a business like yours?
So I think that as a technology entrepreneur, it's not that difficult for me because people who understand technology, we are ready to meet online. So the work is still as normal as we can, but people who are not from the technology background, they wanted to meet us, and that's what the problem occurs because right now no one is ready to meet. So few of them are ready to meet, and then most of them are ready to work online. But the business is slowed down because they're also not getting business on daily basis. Whatever they're selling or whatever they are doing, what kind of services, so they're not getting the proper business on time, and that would definitely impact our business because it will slow down because of the revenue. And that is what I see, not in India but across the world, that a lot of people who have no time previously, they are ready to talk to me online, but they are not sure when they want to commit. So so it's a mixed feeling because a lot of people are ready to work without any commitments. A lot of people for the corona to go and then they'll start working. So it's a mixed feeling across the demographics and across the business industries as well. What do you think, Willie?
Yes, I see that. That's very obvious. Um, like I was telling Kim earlier. So I'm going to go into partnership with some other people as a joint venture, and
Yeah.
they're bringing up all the projects that are good, the fundraising. I'm going to have to park the fundraising for the time being, both the early stage venture capital one and the equity crowdfunding. I'm going to have to park it for the time being because nobody's coming out to play.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming
Well,
out to play.
let's bring them here to play. Let's get them on TV. Let's share resources. Let's start some shows to bring the people here. Maybe that is an innovation that needs to happen, is to bring the people on to the network.
That's a very good point, Kimberly. Very good point. I'm going to make note of this.
Well, you know, we had started Startup Masters, and it just never could gain traction. We wanted to do interviews of startups from all over the world, not just from the U.S., but we just could not get that traction going. But maybe now's the time to do that so that people can share their information. If they're going to crowdsource funding, go ahead and get that interview with them, and let's post it up and get Startup Masters going. The channel's there, it's ready to go.
Yeah. I think it's
Absolutely.
the right time to work online.
Yeah, I mean, we just need a good host that's willing to maybe do, 4 interviews a week that can line them up and get them in. And Kate, that's kind of hard to do because you do that on the health channel, don't you?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's difficult to schedule and follow with people, but I think that we are still in very early stage. Once we have a good process and a good team, I think we can line up. And I believe that it's difficult for me to work alone. So if suppose Willie and me work together on a health channel, I think we can do much better because he will push me and I will push him to do something, or we can arrange some kind of
Absolutely.
calls and all, because we have a parallel
agree.
business running around.
Yep.
So it's
I
difficult to
agree.
manage it out. That is what.
And I can, that again, we're doing this together. This is very hard to do alone. And I greatly appreciate the two of you coming on every day, 7 days a week. What I'm finding is that even our reliable resources are not producing data on the weekends. They are only producing data Monday through Friday, but this virus doesn't stop Monday through Friday. It's kind of like they've taken the attitude of, and if you split your people up, then you can run more time. So maybe somebody take the weekend shift and somebody take the weekday shift, but you also give them a backup. You help them, you come in and work with them. But it's hard to do a show daily. It's hard to do a show weekly. This is what I tell people. But once you get committed and you get that routine, it works. And you know,
And the important thing there is to have a backup of human resource, because there's
Right.
only so far that you can go. Sometimes you can't be at two places at the one time. That's the
I'm
underlying
a
factor.
stick all the time. That's why he's got 3 computers on his desk. He'll have 3 meetings scheduled at the same time, and he'll turn one on, talk on the other. He's very multi-talented. You know, you're right. We need a team. It's very hard to do it on your own. Scheduling is the most, to me, one of the most difficult. Executing the show itself like this is easy.
Easy.
You might be learning that post-production can be a bear. And it's the reason why I like this. I don't do any post-production with this. We can share the screens, share your story. As you're learning, you know, you have at least 3 people. That's a good panel, 4 people.
Yep.
And you share. GoToMeeting is going to be giving us some licenses. They had an overburden of people calling in. And so we're not at the bottom of the totem pole. They're trying to get us out online. But I also did not want to cut us on to a new platform this morning on the fly. We need to build to it through the week. And there'll be enough licenses for us to share with other people so that you can take on the task and maybe get other people to help you, right? And go, look, if you want your, right. But what I like about this is when I'm done and I end the broadcast, it's 2 clicks and it's already on the network. And there's no downloading, no uploading, no encrypting, it's done. It takes some programming. People don't understand. I go in and I am now like, I program some of these banners on the fly while we talk, but these banners are better if you can get in before the show start. Program the date, because you know you got to have the date right. I have a tendency of getting that mixed up. They were joking about Biden getting the date wrong. I get the date wrong. Hey, my princess is on. Just share with us. My niece. Good morning.
Good evening.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine. And how are you?
We are good.
Being good. Do you like staying home?
Yes.
It's good family bonding. Look, she's wearing a crown. She is my princess.
He said, she's
So
the
the
princess, I am the king.
The other interesting thing is that we've had people from all over the world call in and share their stories. And these are real life stories of what's really happening in different parts of the world. I have people emailing me, you know, in Uganda, we're okay. In Africa, we're okay. In Mexico, we learned that there no big impacts yet. Again, you know, they are on alert. They're listening to us, and around the world, what are other people doing so they can prepare if it happens to them. But
Do you know
these are
Africans?
nice.
Africans have restricted the travel for the first time, and they are not inviting any country to visit Africa because they are safe and they don't want any kind of coronavirus in the African continent. And also,
I was just reading up on that. One of the biggest fears of the African countries is they don't have the capacity if they have a pandemic within the hospital system. Their hospital system will collapse.
So most of the African nations are funded or maybe supported by different countries in the world. And this is the first time Africa is saying no to everyone because they are not in that corona zone and they wanted to keep themselves safe. And also the world sports community, what they wanted to progress is that the sports which have the direct contact within the players and within the object, they are not promoting those sports. But sports which they don't have a direct contact, they, I mean, if you are ready to play, you can do it, I mean, without the audience. So,
You know,
so sports like football, cricket. So they football is a direct content sports, but cricket is not. Likewise, tennis is also. I mean, because what happened is that lot of I mean, companies who work based on sports, on live, basically water football or things like that. So they don't have anything to do, and most of the sports around the world are closed. So that means we are losing the business as well.
I would think that maybe individual sports like skating, skiing, water sports might be good. But, again, we still know very little about the virus. They're still learning about it every day. But they say warmer climates, I believe, are better and safer. I believe it's our warmer climate, healthy lifestyles. But you're right. Independent sports, golfing, you can get out
Golf.
there and get some sunshine and not be around anybody. So
Yeah.
I agree. These kind of sports will probably build up and establish. But crowd related event sports, they have been canceling. I noticed over the weekend that they were still playing the ACC, and that there was still a crowd in the auditorium. How
So
they,
so
which
the,
shocked me.
there's a, I mean, world chess master Vishwanath Anand, if you know the name, basically. So he was playing chess in Germany since February onwards, and now he's stuck in Germany because there is no flights coming to India.
Wow. So
So,
the chess
a
tournament
lot of,
is not happening.
yeah. So a lot of people are stuck in different parts of the world, and they, because of the flu, flights are going, so they are stuck in between, and they don't have money, and they don't know how to. I mean, how what to do in that case.
Well,
Yes.
we need to find out, what about the people who are stuck? What are the airlines going to help give them a flight home when they have to go home? I mean, we don't know. There,
So
it could
most
be
of the
like
airlines,
Tom
most of
Hanks.
the air- so most of the airlines are not flying, basically, because they don't have passengers to fly. So I mean, suppose if airline from Germany to India, so Indian government says that we are not allowing, or we are not inviting any passengers or tourists, so the flight cancelled. Now, I mean, they can't fly for one person, so I think government should interfere, or maybe they start chartered or something like that. But I mean, it's a difficult situation, because if the public airline is not flying, so you are relying on the private players only, and that involves a lot of cost.
Yes.
I
The Australian.
gather that private airlines is going to go up
Yeah,
because I'm sure they're still flying, and they
yeah,
were actually having a downturn in their
yeah.
business.
Yes.
That
The
is correct.
Australian government has bailed out a lot of Australian citizens stuck in China, and they've thrown them out, but they've thrown them into quarantine. We've used the previously, because Australia is an island out there on its own. We've
Yeah.
had a refugee where refugees come in and they go to Christmas Island as
Okay.
like a camp. So they're using Christmas Island now as the isolation camp. So when the plane comes in, it's got a runaway and all of that facilities on Christmas Island, and yeah, it goes direct there for the isolation.
What about, where do they live? The people who are stuck in other countries because of all the flight bans. I mean, I wouldn't be able to afford to stay in a hotel for months on end. That's expensive. And
So I'll
Airbnb,
tell you, yeah, not Airbnb, but I think I mean, in India there are a lot of organizations who support a lot of people who are around the world. I'm talking about Indians, basically. So if you know, Sikhism is one of the most I mean, favored community who donates across the world. They give food 24/7 in all the gurudwaras, which is the temple for them. And so Indian community, they're helping those Indians who are not able to fly down to India. So there are a lot of Indian communities available across the world in different countries, and they are helping them out to live, or food and whatever shelter they are required.
So one of the things that I would consider doing, and I don't know what the embassies are doing, and maybe that's some research we'll do today for tomorrow, but perhaps for the people who are stuck in other countries, they can contact their embassy in that country and seek assistance and help as well. I am certain that the doors at the embassy will be open to help the people who are unable to travel because of the bans. And I just you see this happen when we have a natural disaster or when there are terrorist attacks. We immediately see the airlines shut down. So they're definitely prepared for certain shutdowns, but they have not been prepared for a shutdown like this. And
Yes.
they're struggling as well. One of the things I'd like to share with the tourist industry, don't be afraid of this, because in 4 weeks to 6 weeks after we've been self-contained and we know that we're safe, that industry is going to skyrocket. People are going to say, my God, I've been abandoned at home for 4 or 5, 6 weeks. I want to see the world now. So I don't see this as, I see this temporarily hurting that industry. I see it really hurting other industries, but I see this as a temporary. And I hope that each government, including the Federal Reserve, but also, whoever controls all of this worldwide, that they put in the measures to help the businesses, the local community businesses, stay alive and through this dead zone until we build back up again, because we're going to need them. All of those small businesses that are rely on tourism and rely on the community coming out to them, we're going to need them in 4 to 6 weeks. And we need for them to be healthy. So, we need to get out there and find out what the government is doing for them. Jennifer Waxton, Congresswoman of Virginia, has done some wonderful things. She put in place a law that helps us get the resources we need for testing and medical care so that it doesn't cost us anything. That's very important to know. And you can go to your CDC sites who have prepared a means to request a testing kit. And but we have learned that there are not enough. So please don't just ask for it because you think you have it. Feel more confident, get some pre-screening to confirm that you do have it.
True.
Are they sharing
But I think
in India for requests for test kits?
so. There are requests for test kits, but I think what doctors are saying that if you have a basic flu or if you are not having those symptoms, so don't be panic. Just visit and see the doctor and take care of it, because people who are coughing or who have a bad throat, they are believing that they have corona. So that panic, the basic physicians and the doctors, they are trying to help them online and through different ways. Because if you panic and if you go to the doctor for every way, the way you said that we can't visit a website more than what we want, basically. So because let other users also use the website. So likewise, doctor has 24 hours, so he can see 100 patients or maybe more than that. So if there are a lot of patients panicking and talking about the corona and believing that they have a corona, so it's difficult for them. So doctors told them that I'll give you the symptoms and I'll showcase the list of things online, and then we can connect whenever you require. But don't be panic. That's what they're sharing with the patients.
Yeah, and that's information, right? Let's be informed. Let's don't panic. Let's be informed so we make the right decisions. And at this point, we need complete transparency from the people who are testing these things and are have the information available to them of what we're really dealing with, because I think transparency will prevent a lot more deaths, but also prevent panic.
Absolutely, because with the transparency comes like the certainty I've been talking about. For a fact with the transparency, it'll be easier. There's no uncertainty.
Right. I mean, right now there is a lot of uncertainty, but there are a few things like Anke, you were sharing that the government is providing us, and let's utilize those resources to our benefit, right? And make those smart choices. And one of the things they share with us is that it actually starts in the throat. It is transmitted by air, and like Nick shared with us this morning, 3 weeks ago it was stay 3 feet away from people. Now it's stay 10 feet away from people, right? 2 weeks ago I heard 6 feet. I've read the John Hopkins research paper. John Hopkins has a fabulous research paper on this. A lot of universities do. Their thing is that it is airborne. But be careful the way you read their papers, because they'll have people ask them questions, but they're asking the wrong questions. Like they'll ask, is it airborne like the measles? And they're going to say no. And immediately you're going to think, oh, it's not airborne. It is, John Hopkins truly believes that it is airborne and that it lives 3 hours in the air. It stays many days on a surface, right? It can be immediately transmitted from human to human upon contact. And this is what happens. It starts in the throat, in the airways. And then that goes to the lungs. That looks very painful to me. And I'm just going to share. I don't like going full screen on me, but I'm going to share what this reminds me of. It reminds me of these stupid pine balls that we get, sweet gum balls, right? They're very spiky. I've yet to get any clay, but I wanted to show, it's going to leave an imprint, a permanent imprint and scar in your body because it tears. And think about the fact that it goes in the body where the soft tissues are, and it's scarring the soft tissues. Now I'm hurting myself, so bear with me, but it leaves imprints. It's going to scar our insides and leave it permanently scarred. These are things that we need to be aware of. What really happens to the body, right? And this is what I tell people. When I first heard about this, that was my question. What happens to my body when I get it? Then let me make the decisions that I need to make moving forward. All people want to share with you is how to prevent it. They're not sharing what happens to your body. I think if they shared what happens to your body, then your next question is, what do I do to prevent this, right? Yeah. Because knowledge of this is very important. Reaction is also very important. Not panicking. This is what I tell people. Let's learn how to panic smart, right?
Panic is an illogical animal.
Right. This virus isn't, it's like war. It's not something that you can fight nicely. It's, it doesn't pick its victim. Everyone's a victim. And it's everywhere, like a virus in a computer. It's going to go everywhere.
My concerns are a little different than what I was saying is that if we can protect ourselves, we are humans, we are intelligent, we have sensors, and we share a lot of feelings and discussions and a lot of things, we can do. But what about animals and what about objects? Apple just released an article, Apple iPhone, the Apple company, and they told or they mentioned that you have to clean your phone every 15-20 minutes. Because the phone is easily going to your skin, and then you're talking like this. So if you're talking like this, and then you keep your phone at any place, you are prone to that virus, not corona, something else. So they mentioned that you have to use some kind of a glass fiber cleaner, and then you have to clean it the way you are washing your hands, because the phone is something, because you might touching your hands like this, but you are doing the phone like this only.
And like your surfaces around you, when I flew a lot, I had this little spray antiseptic stuff, and supposedly it kills on contact, but you just never know, right? But you put your hands on the gel on your hands, but then you touched everything around you on the plane, including the little table that comes down and things like that. So I'm constantly spraying the table, and I got my wipe, and I'm wiping the table down, and I'm wiping my computer down because it's going to, because it probably touched something. So computers, your laptops touch other subjects, the tablets, the phone most important because, like you said, but is that being over paranoid? People thought I was over paranoid, but I'm like, well, how many people touch this surface? But then I had to tell myself, Kim, my God, you just walked through the plane, and that plane is contaminated everywhere. And for all the travel that I did, I barely became ill over the years because I did do healthy things for my body. Like I made sure I was in the sunshine 15 to 20 minutes a day. I drink my lemon juice every day, no sugar. Healthy practices like this, right? Or Lysol. I like oils, like we talked about. There are healthy alternatives, tamarack. I like oil of clove and peppermint. I put peppermint with oil of clove because oil of clove smells funny to me.
Yeah.
But it's an anesthetic, right? Peppermint makes you feel good. It's calming. So there's just so many different things that we could be doing on a day-to-day basis that don't just prevent the coronavirus. It prevents a lot of them.
I agree.
So these are good habits that we're learning. This isn't just about panic. These are good social habits, like your daughter shares with us. Wash your hands. No contact. See, but no contact.
Yeah.
This is how we say hello. This is how we sneeze. I'm sneezing like this now. Everybody laughs at me, but I am literally sneezing like this. I have a little cloth usually in my pocket, but it's not in my studio. And I cough into the cloth. This is what I tell people that the masks are for. They're not so much about protecting you from someone else. They're about protecting everyone else from you, right?
Yeah.
So when I go to the doctor's office, I do wear a mask. One, because I really think it protects me from everyone. I didn't realize I should be wearing eyeglasses too. So I might do that. To me, sick people go to the doctor's office. I have to unfortunately go there because of a disease I have that's not, it doesn't transmit. So once a month I have to go, sometimes twice a month for treatments. And I'm scared to death in the waiting room because sick people are in there. And so I'm wearing a mask. I got my gel. I'm like, I pump their gel on my hands all the time. And my doctors laugh at me. And I'm like, well, you guys live in this. So you probably have a great immune system. But, I fear the other diseases that people carry. But one of the things I tell with people, when we wear a contamination suit in a lab, it's not about protecting us. It's about protecting everything in the lab.
True.
When we wear a contamination gas suit on the oil rigs, which I've been on, those are about protecting you from your surroundings. So, and those are two different outfits, way two different outfits that we wear. And people need to be aware of that. And so the gas suits are to protect us from everything around us. And they're very extreme suits. They're very hot to wear, by the way. So, and I learned the other day on the news that a billionaire in China is donating masks around the world for people. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Do you believe we should be wearing masks?
We should. I think it's on the person itself to make the choice of the masks and the social distancing. But as I'm walking through to go to work and through all my other daily activities, some people don't seem to understand the social distancing. So there was a meeting at work the other day. So they said, okay, let's sign off on this meeting. So when it came to me, I said, just leave the paper there. I'll get to it when I get to it. and everybody's picking up the same paper, picking up the same pen, and signing. I said, okay. And the boss was not impressed when I said, just read it there. You know.
The dirtiest thing in the world that gets touched 1,000,000 times is this.
Yes. I read on funny one regarding money. In Hong Kong, they were using it in microwaves, and some of the notes were getting burned.
And do you know they destroy these? This is not paper. This is a material cloth, kind of cloth, but it's not real paper. It does tear easy, but they burn and destroy millions and millions of dollars daily at the Federal Reserve. They get return damage. So that's probably what's going to happen with those. But what should we spray each one of these down before we exchange them?
I think I think that Singapore and Australian notes are much better than what we have US dollars and Indian rupees, because they have plastic and they can, I think, easily wash. That's what I heard.
I think we are going to have to migrate. This is a good migration time to Bitcoin, electronic payments. Bitcoin took a nosedive. I think it's time that we start learning how to do electronic payments better. A lot of people still transact with paper. I keep it around for emergencies because sometimes the credit card might not work. But I think it's time that we start looking at those alternative methods. Also, I think this is a time that Amazon's going to make a killing, right? We don't want to go to the stores to shop. I saw Amazon trucks up and down the road all day yesterday. There may not be traffic on the road, but the Amazon trucks are everywhere. So
when I was up in Scotland, I came across this building, this warehouse, and I said, wow, who is this? It was like 2 sports stadiums like combined together. It was Amazon. And the warehouse just like went forever and ever and ever. It was huge.
Yeah, and they were actually hiring people around the world to become general managers of those warehouses and distribution centers. So they have lockers at stores now. So you can buy your stuff and go to the store locker and it's there for you if you don't want it delivered. So it's they've got what's it like in India? What is Amazon big in India?
Amazon is big now because there was a competitor called Flipkart, which was started by the ex-Amazon employees, and they invited Amazon to compete with them. And that Flipkart bought by Walmart for an amount which is more than 1 billion.
Wow.
And then Walmart is not able to compete with Amazon, so Amazon is the king right now. And I think most of the online shopping in India on daily basis, 70% of them goes to Amazon.
Wow. Is it because Amazon already had the platform down and understood the economics?
It's because the Amazon has a lot of Indians working for Amazon. Secondly, the platform is as good as any other company in the world. And thirdly, Amazon has a lot of back office in India. Apart from the Amazon shopping, they have a lot of back office in India. So it's easy for Amazon to capture the Indian market. And once the Indian market is there, so Asian market is already open up, because apart from China, they can go to any other market. So if you talk about Asia, Amazon is the top player after Alibaba. But if you go to Chinese market, then Alibaba is always the king.
So what about Uber and Lyft and resources like that to drive people to and from? Has that industry, that industry went sky high. Is that industry still growing?
So Uber is already doing good. Although Uber Eats, they sold their business to an Indian company, Zomato. And apart from Uber, we have Ola, and we have a couple of more players, regional players as well. And that industry is growing like anything, but there's still a big scope, because India is divided into 28 states. So if you capture one state, you are good to go. So Uber is not available in all the states, but they are available in majority of the metro cities.
Willie, in your country, has there been a rise or fall of Uber and Lyft who kind of took over?
Yes, all the millennials are using them. And I'm just amazed that next thing you know, there's a knock on the door. Yes, can I help you? Oh, I'm here to pick up so and so. Okay, there's a knock on the door.
So they're actually making door-to-door calls. You know, I prefer using a driver. I mean, in my mind, why even own a car, right? That some of the Lyft and Uber made it so cost effective. To take a cab was almost $100 to go to the airport. To take a Lyft and Uber cost me $15. Sometimes
Absolutely.
$7. I live less than 5.5 miles from the airport. Hi, welcome to our world. IBM News, huh? Hello. Yeah, I think it's going to be time for us to sign off here. One of the things I wanted to discuss with my friends and family on IBM TV is, moving forward, I think this is a time that we need to start getting some online tools and resources for people, some classes, some teaching and educating, because the schools are closing down.
Also, while we're on this topic, I think it's also a good time to see if we can resurrect Startup Masters.
Yes. Any other ideas?
Just that one.
Just that one. I think it's time to resurrect Startup Masters if somebody wants to help us. And Kit, you're talking about trying to expand this to an all-day show, which I think we can worldwide, because the news needs to be going in different countries from different languages. So maybe we can get a team. As we discussed, it's hard to do this alone, so let's try to team up. The Health Channel, definitely interested in getting that going again too. People have been talking about offering camp programs for children online so that they can learn, of course, I'm sorry guys, chess, but now's the time to possibly also focus on some financial literacy, fitness skills for the kids.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
There's something about maybe doing some home training as well as what they get in the schools, because they don't teach that in school. But little habits. I have a cool game that I started building from the first event that we hosted back in January 20th with Elliot. And it's a fun game for kids to play to learn how to do a checkbook. Money comes in, but money's going to have to go out. I also incorporated my game taxes, which is something that they don't do in a lot of games, but I'm a big advocate of teaching those skill sets. But maybe we can get this going, share with the world what's going on.
I just want
as we sign off, say goodbye in your language, guys. And can we play our little princess video?
I'm not in a good network right now.
Okay. Yeah, we're struggling here too, because I think everybody's at home working. The bandwidth is kind of narrowed. Yes. But I thank you guys for helping out here with the world news and sharing the stats of real quick. How many worldwide do we have right now with the coronavirus?
So the numbers are growing. We have around 6,900 people died since the corona started.
6,900. So from a week ago, it was 4,000.
Yeah. So right now the number is around 6,900, and the corona cases are growing up 10 to 15% a day. And China is again, leading. But I think the situation is very bad in Italy, Iran, Spain, and Germany. That is what I can, vouch for. And
so that's Iran, huge.
Yeah. That's and in Italy, what I've heard about Italy, that they don't know how to proceed, so they kept their citizens so that they can die basically. So they've kept it in a separate place because they don't know what. That's what I heard.
Well, and maybe we can get some people from that country. I also want to share with you guys, we have some government officials that are going to be interested in being on our show this week. which I'm very, very excited about, because this is going to give a little more comfort to people when the government starts talking to us. So,
Absolutely.
and we've got a few people from there that also want to start hosting their own show every day. So we'll work together to make all of this information sharing happen, because by sharing and caring, we'll be able to flatline the situation and
Absolutely.
get back to a normal life. I thank you
Absolutely.
all. Let's,
Thank you.
Thank you.
we're going to get a new intro. I just threw this one together, but we are working on a new intro. So bear with
Good.